Relationships are the foundation of every movie ever made, from romantic to friendships to enemies. This is exemplified in heist movies, which focus on a gang of highly skilled individuals who are trying to steal a specific item. And of course, this is also the basis of The Bad Guys, which is a children's version of a heist movie from Dreamworks. From allies to enemies, anyone can be toxic. But which relationship is the most toxic? I'm Kyle with WickedBinge, and this is Dreamworks' The Bad Guys Relationships Healthy to Toxic. And just a quick spoiler warning, in case you haven't seen the film yet. As usual, we'll be starting with our healthiest relationship and working our way down to the most toxic. These relationships are the healthy. Our gold medal of healthiness goes to Mr. Wolf and the unnamed cat. This originally starts out when Marmalade wants the bad guys to save the cat from a tree. After a conversation with Diane, Mr. Wolf manages to save the cat, and the two become fast friends. This leads to them connecting, and even at the end of the movie, he adopts the cat, and the cat seems to care about him quite a bit. And these two have no bad or toxic scenes between them, hence why they earn the gold medal of healthy. Earning our silver medal of healthiness is none other than Mr. Wolf and Diane Foxington. Now, these two start off the movie with a semi-strained relationship due to Diane seeing him and his crew as kind of two-bit hacks. However, it is implied they share a romantic link by the end of the movie, and they do become quite good friends. In fact, we call them the second best relationship for a reason. Diane and Wolf share a very intimate relationship, dancing at the party to Piranha's bop of a song or preparing to face Marmalade together.
We have to steal the meteorite.
They show quite the camaraderie during their time on screen together, and it's nice to see that it isn't forced into a full romantic subplot. The bronze medal of healthiness goes to Diane Foxington and the bad guys. Diane originally seems antagonistic to the group, saying they were pretty much on the way out at the beginning of the movie. However, she reluctantly agreed to let the group try and become good guys, and even says she's rooting for them.
Believe it or not, I'm rooting for you, Wolf.
Sure, the antagonism isn't great, but by the end of the movie, she's pretty much a member of the group and treats them as close friends, maybe even family. Heck, she even busts them out of prison, which really shows they're quite close. This shows growth not only on her part, but on the part of the bad guys as well, letting her be friends with them, especially considering that Diane was about to reveal she worked alongside them, and possibly be thrown in jail with them. Rounding out the healthy section of our list is the titular The Bad Guys as a gang. Yes, the gang is a group of criminals. However, the criminals are actually quite healthy, and this is a trope we often see. They treat each other like family, and to be fair, they are quite the found family, which shows why they're healthy. Sure, they fight a bit, especially during the climax of the movie, and Wolf does technically betray them, though it's shown they all end up making the right decision. It even gets to the point that when Snake supposedly betrays them, it's actually a ploy to defeat Marmalade. The group only falls this low because they do have quite a few bad moments, which we can't ignore. That said, with our healthy relationships out of the way, we can now move into our gray area. Starting out this neutral section is Mr. Snake and Mr. Wolf. Now, Wolf and Snake consider each other best friends for most of the movie. In fact, Snake considers Wolf the only person he can trust. This is until the climax of the film when the bad guys are caught due to Marmalade's influence, and Snake considers Wolf turning good a betrayal. In fact, the second half of the film kind of shows their relationship in a very toxic light, after their friendship breaks up.
All the crime with none of the exercise.
But despite Snake's vitriol, Wolf risks his reputation and everything else to save Snake. The two of them make up, and this stops them from falling any further. But we couldn't in good conscience list them as healthy. Next up in this section we have Diane Foxington and Chief Misty Luggins. Diane and the Chief honestly don't interact much in the movie, and they seem amicable at least. However, it is implied that the two aren't particularly friendly all the time. Misty completely disagrees with Diane on multiple occasions and seems happy to arrest her if necessary, and even seems happy to do so based on her working with the bad guys. The two of them don't really see eye to eye, which is why we have to put them in the gray area. Moving on to Professor Marmalade and Cuddles. Cuddles is the human employee and assumed butler to Professor Marmalade, who keeps up his good guy facade. He helps him both in the good guy stuff and with the heist at the end of the movie. We assume Marmalade must pay well, considering he has Cuddles nearly murder Diane and Wolf. And it seems like Cuddles might enjoy doing that. We're not entirely sure about the character as a whole, but they only stay in the gray area because they're a very weird dynamic. As we plunge further, we move on to Mr. Snake and Mr. Shark. These two are members of the bad guys and are supposedly good-ish friends. However, the thing about these two specifically is that they fight a lot. This comes down to Snake being kind of a rude guy most of the time. Almost every time Snake wants to have an ice cream snack, he tricks Shark and then eats it himself, leading to the two physically fighting each other. However, by the end of the film, Snake does give the only push pop to Shark because of how sad he was, showing significant growth and placing them here. And rounding out our gray section is the bad guys and Tiffany Fluffit. Tiffany Fluffit is the reporter who appears quite often throughout the film. The thing about her is she doesn't seem to care too much about the deeper facts of the matter, reporting on mostly surface-level information. This leads her to constantly berate the bad guys and label them as villains, which is part of the issues behind the film. This leads to a pretty bad relationship between the groups, leading to a very strained situation, although there doesn't seem to be any maliciousness, hence why we decided to keep this dynamic just out of the toxic. But with that said, we now get to the worst relationships on our list. These relationships are the toxic. Starting out this section and earning our bronze medal of toxicity are the bad guys and Chief Misty Luggins. The bad guys, being a group of criminals, constantly have run-ins with the police, and very specifically, Chief Misty Luggins. Misty has been trying to arrest the bad guys for a while, at least a few years by the start of the movie based on how many artifacts the group has. The team and the chief can be considered arch-enemies because they run up against each other quite often.
It's the end of the bad guys.
The only reason they grab bronze instead of lower is that they don't physically fight, although it can definitely seem like they might lead that way sometimes. Our silver medal of toxicity goes to Diane Foxington and Professor Marmalade. This is the first relationship on our list we can call physically violent, because while Diane and Marmalade seem to start off on the right foot, it doesn't last all too long. When Marmalade frames the bad guys, Diane not only notices but goes out of her way to free them. This leads to Diane and Marmalade fighting physically throughout the latter half of the film. Marmalade tries to kill Diane, and it shows that this is a very, very toxic relationship, but it is still slightly outdone by the last relationship on our list. Our gold medal of toxicity goes to none other than the bad guys and Professor Marmalade. This is one of the most central relationships in the film, especially towards the end. It starts off quite nice, with Marmalade helping the bad guys go good. However, we find out later this is all a ploy to frame them and put them away for good.
Cuddles. Finish them.
Marmalade not only frames them but nearly kills Wolf, tries to tear the gang apart, and even tries to pretend to be good when he's caught. They are the main rivals throughout the film, and it makes sense that they are the most toxic, because they try to kill each other multiple times. But let us know in the comments section if you agree with our ranking, and let us know what we should cover next. Remember to hit that notification bell and binge more of our videos, including our bad guys good to evil and weak to powerful videos. But most importantly, stay wicked.